Hey guys, we're at RAGT23 and I'm here with one of my favorite people, Nancy Naigle. You have had so much going on. We've got a ton to talk about.
I love catching up with you, Lori.
I know. Well, you've just had, everything has just been flying for you. Movies and new books and everything. It's amazing.
It feels more like just time is flying. I can't feel like we were just doing this.
I know, me too. But that's how it is sometimes when you have friends. You see them again, it doesn't seem like it's been a year.
I know. It's the best kind of friends.
It is. So I actually asked readers for some questions for you, so
goody.
It wouldn't just be me hogging your time.
Oh, good. All right.
And I want to ask you first, though, about your movie that was on Fox Nation. Let's talk about that first, and then I'll get to these. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, The Shell Collector.
The Shell Collector.
Story of my heart, book of my heart, and based on a true story. You know, I had family that lived out in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and a friend of theirs was walking the beach like she did every single morning, and something was heavy on her heart, and as she walked, she kicked up a shell, and when she picked it up, there was a scripture written in it, and it was the perfect message for what she needed that day.
So nice.
And you know, it's interesting because I wrote this story. That story just started kind of gestating in my heart when I heard it. But then when I lost my husband, and then I lost my cousin who told me the story 5 weeks later.
Oh my gosh.
I remember thinking I could use a bucket of those shells right now, you know. And so it took me a while to have the strength to write that story about navigating grief to hope and happiness. But, you know, it was a beautiful journey. I love the story. It's just the most important book I've ever written. But it wasn't until just this past season that I actually got to meet the gal who found the shells.
Oh, wow.
And I was doing a book signing at a little teeny library in Hertford County, North Carolina, called Winton, North Carolina. And she showed up and she brought the shells. And so
she was the one that put the stuff in there and put them out, or she was the one that found it?
She was the one who found them.
Oh, okay.
And she found, I think there were 6 or 7, and she brought them all for me to see. And the funny thing was that in my mind, I thought they were kind of small shells, you know, like clam or oyster shells or whatever.
Like you sent me a cute
exactly, like the ones Mama paints, right?
Yeah.
And they weren't. They were large. That first one she found was like this big.
Oh, wow.
And it was whole. There were no little nips in it or anything, and it was written in like red Sharpie around the edge.
Aww.
And little tiny letters, and all of them were written in the same way. They were in good shape. One of them did have where you could see the water had been sitting in it for a long time. It was kind of mushed. But oh my gosh, what a thrill for me to actually see the real shells that had been found.
What an amazing idea for someone to be able to find that when they needed it.
Yes.
Now it makes me want to go do it. And I don't want to steal someone's idea, but it would be so fun to do.
Yeah, it would be. And you know, it was funny. When I was doing research for the book, I found other stories, you know, where people were casting shells out into the sea near their homes. And one lady in Florida, and she would put little happy faces and stars, little simple messages, but she'd put her email address and people would contact her. And I just thought that was so cool. And
my brain immediately went to, oh my gosh, you don't know who might contact you. But
I know,
I was thinking, oh no. But if a wonderful person contacts you or someone that needed the contact, how awesome would that be?
Yeah. It's a lot like the rocks too that people paint. You know, it's so special. It's such a tiny little thing, but it can mean so much to somebody.
Someone out there cares.
Especially when the timing is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the movie came out on Fox Nation, which was, I think, a kind of a new thing for them. Was it their first movie?
It was the first Fox original movie.
Yeah.
It's still streaming on Fox Nation, and there's lots of other good stuff on that channel, too.
Yeah.
A lot of documentaries and nature stuff, which I just gobble up.
Yeah,
you know?
me too. I love the nature stuff, but I like the heartwarming movies also.
I do too. Yeah,
you know, I like a kick butt movie, but then I also like the ones that have some meaning to them.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and I could watch nature stuff. I think it's because what was it? Mutual of Omaha.
Yeah.
I grew up on that stuff, so yeah. Whenever I can watch documentaries like that, I love to do that.
Well, I'm just so happy for you because the movie was just such a wonderful thing.
Oh, and they did a great job. They kept
all
it looked
the big amazing
story points in there. When I read the screenplay, because, you know, we don't get any input into that stuff. And I read the screenplay and I just ugly cried. I could not believe that every single really
important
even
part.
some of the minute things, like, you know, one of the things was looking for those little ghost crabs in the night with your flashlight, you know.
I love those things. They're so cool. Yeah.
And Billy and I used to do that on the beach. Well, I lost him, 17 years ago. And so it was just such a cool childhood memory for me. And that each of those little things just popped up was just amazing. And they kept the parrot, which
Yeah.
was awesome because
Yeah.
the secret ingredient, they changed my little micro pig to a dog,
Aw,
you know,
aw.
so when they did it on Hallmark, so that Fox kept the parrot made me really happy.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, because you put your heart into it, and those are details that matter to you.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they were. So thanks
yeah.
for asking.
It
about
looked
that.
like a big movie production, like you would see at the theaters.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they did an awesome job with it.
Did.
I was
They did.
extremely impressed.
So here's some insider information nobody
Okay.
else has heard.
Ooh.
So I'm writing the sequel.
Oh,
I'm like
awesome.
messing with my microphone. Sorry. It's like
sequel.
It's a secret. We have to it'll self-destruct. But yeah, it's going to be called Angel by the Sea.
Oh,
and it's
man.
funny because I hadn't ever planned on writing another story, but when I saw the movie,
Yeah.
the guy who plays Tug, his name is Jim Owens. He's a Canadian guy. And he and I kind of connected and sent notes back and forth. But because I sent him a message and was like, oh my gosh, you brought Tug to life so perfectly, just like it was in my head.
Awesome.
I loved it. And when I just seeing, his love for Maeve as she left and all that stuff, I was like, I got to find him love.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I am
that's-
working on Angel by the Sea, and that'll
Oh,
come
wonderful.
out. That won't come out until 2025.
It takes so long, I know.
Yeah,
We've talked about that.
So,
but yeah.
yeah.
You have to have time to write it. You have to have time to have it edited, all of that, and then the production that they
Yeah.
go through. So yeah.
It's
But
a long journey.
congratulations, that's
Thank
very
you.
cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to go back to Welks Island.
Yeah, I bet. That's awesome. So is Fox going to do the movie also?
I don't know.
I bet
They're
they
always
will.
on my list. We hope so.
I bet they will. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you too.
Okay.
Let me know if you find out.
I will.
So I'm guessing that might be one of the readers wanted to know, is there one character that you can relate to personally? So it almost
Oh.
sounds like,
It's funny because I relate to a lot of them. I mean, we bring
in
a
one
little,
way or another.
Yeah, we bring a little bit of our baggage to everybody's
Mm-hmm.
story. But yeah, it was funny because Tug was kind of a throwaway character. He was the diner guy, no big story. But there was something about that character that just kept growing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I gave him the parrot. We named her the wife. And then, he just got bigger and bigger. And I just
Anyone who
really
hasn't read is
loved
going to be totally intrigued now.
I know.
Yeah.
Y'all need to see it.
Yeah.
And the book, I always say the book is better than the movie, but in this case, the movie really picks up the main
amazing.
points, which is rare.
So to me, that's like comparing apples and oranges because it's such totally different media,
It
know,
is.
and how you process it. So if they do a good job with the movie, to me, it doesn't have to, every single line reflect
Right.
the book.
No.
But like you said, you want those important parts in there because that's the heart of it.
Yeah.
So if they got that right, then that's the gravy.
Well, and it's funny because like in when the book opens, she's at this new little place and her late husband's shirt is draped on the back of the chair, and she's kind of feeling that, and they don't mention that, they don't talk about it, but the people that read the book, when they see those opening
yeah.
scenes and they see that shirt on the chair,
yeah.
they're gonna know and feel it.
Yeah.
And
Aw.
so, like
That's
Easter
amazing.
eggs. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you love those. I
love
love
it.
them when they make sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't make sense. They just pop something in
Yeah.
there. So they said, how do you decide on the settings for your stories?
They're always places I want to be.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to be spending a year working on this book, rereading it 550 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to be in places that I want to experience or see and around people I want to be with.
Is it necessarily places you've been to?
I always write fictional towns.
Yeah, me too. I hate because
Yeah.
I don't want to have to get held to any accuracy.
And they change stuff so
Yeah, they
quickly.
do.
And they'll knock down a building,
Right.
So you can't even trust that if it's a concrete building one day, it'll
Right.
be there next year.
Street signs
Yeah.
change to street lights.
Yeah, and they
you
changed
don't
the
know.
street names.
Yeah.
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 I mean, shoot, they changed some county names in our county. But so always fictional but I love small towns. I just love the community of it. I love the peace of it and with
The
everything.
quirkiness of it sometimes too, yeah.
And our life is so fast that there's just kind of this feeling of and that's what I want out of my books. I mean, when I set out to write, it was to help one girl through one bad day. That was all I wanted to do. And so if I can sneak in some kind of little minute where you feel like, then I think that setting is like another character.
Do you get those letters from readers? I'm sure that you do, just for the audience, where someone writes you and tells you how that book affected them because of something they were going through or in some way that they related to it. And it'll make me cry sometimes.
Yes,
Yeah.
they always make me cry. And I think it's interesting too that a lot of times they pick up something and they're so sure that you wrote it for this certain reason, and I'm like, wow, I'm not that smart. I did not do that.
But it's genuine, so it resonates with someone.
Exactly. Yeah. So in Christmas Joy, there's a scene where Joy is going back to help Ruby, and she stops to get fuel. And in that scene, a guy with a truck and livestock trailer full of goats comes over and he pumps her gas in the snow.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, that was like a Santa Claus moment. It made me think of magic and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, that was a nod to my late husband. He would have done that, you know? And for me, that was just like my personal close moment. But, you know, it means
so it was a meaningful scene that can mean different things to different people depending on what experiences they've had in life.
Exactly.
You know?
Which is so cool.
You write a kindness in your books, and then that kindness affects people in ways that they've experienced.
Isn't it amazing?
So it is, yeah. It's the best part of writing for me.
Me too. Me too.
That's amazing. Oh, we're so lucky, aren't we?
We are.
So is there a process you follow in deciding the jobs and careers of your characters?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question.
It is, because I don't. I always ask online, who's got an interesting job?
I do. I usually put it out on Facebook too. Like, oh, what are some good jobs you wish somebody would write about?
Yeah, or like you say that I need a character working from home, or I need a character who has to go out every day but has weekends off. Yeah.
Yeah, or has a really flexible schedule so she can do all this stuff I need her to do.
Right. Yeah.
Because the truth is, when you're working 10 hours a day, there is no time to address the drama and find a love.
Right. Yeah. Isn't that the truth? I'm so glad I'm old and married and don't have to worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and now everything's automated, so you can't even have like the guy who's delivering the mail in the office because you're just going to pop it on your laptop all by yourself.
I know times have changed so much.
Oh my gosh.
But that's where I feel like I don't even know what the good jobs are anymore because I've been stay at home forever.
I know.
You know.
Yeah.
So you got to ask.
And I do end up with a lot of project managers and marketing and things just because I know stuff about them, you know, but.
I think it's always easy to fall back on writing a writer. But we're
so
biased
that for some reason. Yeah,
because we would be so biased in how we wrote it.
And I feel like readers would be like, "Oh, that's just not a fun life at all."
No, did you see that? What was the one
hard.
with Sandra Bullock where she was a writer and world famous, and her editor gets on a plane and chases her around?
I know,
that stuff does not happen. I know. Yeah. You don't have your cover model on stage with you talking stories. It was so silly.
Yeah, it was.
But then I had 1,000 readers say, is that how it is? I mean, not even close. Nothing like it. But it made a fun movie.
It was a fun movie. And I have never worn sequins, yes.
Yeah, I did too. It was fun. I kept thinking we should have had a party where a bunch of authors and a bunch of readers went together to watch it in a private theater.
We would have been
Wouldn't that have been a blast?
dying. Yeah, that would have been hysterical.
Well, we got in there, and her name's Loretta, and my full name's Loretta, and then the cover model's name was Alan. And so Alan and I were dying laughing, and nobody in the audience knew why it wasn't a funny part. It was just the names, and we just thought it was hysterical.
That is funny. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. I bet I know the answer to this one, too. Do your characters ever argue with you? If so, who wins? And do your characters ever interrupt your sleep, meals, life?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that they win. We compromise.
Mine never. Mine always win. They just got to do whatever they got to do. But
I've wielded a little more power over
because you plot, correct?
And I plot.
Yeah, you're a plotter.
Because I can never get the book done if I don't. I'll just spin around in pretty meadows for pages and pages. Yeah. Making new friends.
Kicking another shell, yeah.
That's right. And that is just not interesting reading. So yes, I have to plot. And so they don't argue with me. They do give me ideas. And I guess the worst thing is it's always, so I'm a procrastinator, so I always slide into the deadline right, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock that night.
Yeah.
And they will always, the weekend, I'm dying trying to get through it that last time, come up with like the best idea.
Yeah.
And then you got to weave it all the way through to the beginning and all the way back. And so, they're procrastinators as well.
Yeah, they wait till the last minute to tell you what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's really frustrating.
You could have told me this earlier on.
And they're like, well, you could have written it sooner.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love the differences in how authors write.
I know.
I
don't know how you write from the beginning to the end.
Do you not? Do you jump around?
I jump all around.
Yeah.
I know. And y'all always give me you're like, why? You look at me like I'm an absolute nut.
No, I think whatever works for someone is what works for them. That's the amazing part
and it
about
is.
it.
And you and I have talked about that before. I think the the best advice you can give anybody that's out there wanting to write is don't try to follow someone else's process.
Find what works for you.
You got to find your time. You got to find your way.
Yeah.
And it can be as unorganized and ugly as it has to be. It doesn't matter. Nobody's judging you on that. Just get the words on the
And
paper.
if they are, they don't understand what
then
writing
they're not
is.
the right people that should be judging you anyway. That's right.
I know some people that say they can't have any distractions, no noise, no clutter on their desk. My desk looks like it's been through a war by the time I'm halfway through a book.
I can't even sit at my desk.
And I like to listen aloud. You're like Jill Shalvis. She goes out and wanders woods while she's writing, and I like to be in my spot. So that's why everybody's different.
We are. Yeah. We're all different.
So do you write outside? Do you use the laptop you carry around?
I would love to write outside. And I have a wonderful porch and fans and all that stuff out there. I have not come up with an anti-glare system that works for me. And I have bought the little stick-on ones. I bought the little thing that looks like you're working at the ATM under the cardboard or plastic, whatever it is. I have tried everything, made it dark, made it light, and I just cannot find anything that works for me, that I can see it well enough. And I have to see what I'm writing. I just have to see it on the page.
Me too.
And
so do you move around inside your house?
So I move around in the house. Yeah, I usually sit in the corner of the couch because I like to balance my laptop on my leg and the arm of the couch.
Yeah.
And type with my feet up on the couch. Or I sit in my recliner, same thing, feet up underneath me. No good posture.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how people do. They sit real proper when they're around.
Or how about the people that sit on those big balls?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd be like...
Yeah, I know, yeah. I'd fall off repeatedly. Yeah, I would. I would never be able to stand.
What happened to your foot?
Fell off that ball. That's for real. That's true. I have no coordination. My chair has to have like the articulating arms that go out, up or down, so that whatever posture I'm in, I can
right, because you pull your feet up in the chair and stuff.
I have a stool underneath my desk, so I put my feet up.
Well, because we can't reach the ground.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, if you're sitting at the desk, your feet don't reach. So I have a little stool too.
Well, and I would find if I didn't, I would end up winding my feet around the chair, and then you go stand up and your legs are shot because you had them knotted up somehow.
Yeah, or asleep, and like the foot's not there.
Yeah. One last question for you here. Would you describe yourself? I know how I'm going to describe you. Would you describe yourself as an introvert or an extrovert?
So I think people would think I'm an extrovert because I'm outgoing and I love being the center of attention.
I think that's what an extrovert is.
Yeah, but I'm an introvert in that I give 100%. I love being in and around readers and people and friends, but then I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I try not to room with anybody because I'm always going to go to my room and escape and refill the well. I become so exhausted from it.
See, I would have said you were a perfect mix.
Yeah.
So you probably thought I was going to say extrovert.
I did.
When you started describing it, I thought it sounds like an extrovert.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're very sweet and soft-spoken, and you're fun when someone's with you, but you like your alone time.
I have to have the alone time. I do. I've got to be able to recharge.
Well,
I think I'm solar-powered. I need to have some sunshine and fresh air in my life. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because when it's dark, I like to sleep.
Me too. Yeah.
I don't want to be up writing.
Yeah.
Well, Nancy, thank you so much. This was wonderful. I'm so glad you're back again. I hope you'll be here for 2024.
Of course. Wouldn't miss it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.